Day 2 of our Sequoia adventure. We're here, and today we're going to be recording. We're going to be going to the Giant's Tree tour, I think. So we're excited about that. On the Sherman Tree, so we're gonna see the world's biggest thing. That's what they talked about. But yeah, we can't wait to see it and show you guys. See you there.
You can see they're flowers. They're one of the first flowers to actually come up at this elevation in the springtime. So they're kind of an indicator of like, oh man, everything's thawing out and we're gonna get spring again. It's gonna be great. One of the flowers, you'll notice that the flowers are starting to turn into the fruiting bodies, into the berries that are created. When they're fully ripe, they're red and they're about the same size as like those little kernels inside of a pomegranate. I don't think they're as edible as a pomegranate.
I was just gonna ask. Yeah.
And it's very pretty coming up in the fall, but right now it's this goofy transition of like some of it's still flowers, some of it's starting to turn into that seed pod. But they're a pretty cool plant, and you'll see them all throughout the Sierra Nevadas, and you'll even see them on the coastline of California. So they're all over. They're pretty.
So these are edible?
They are, yeah. They're raspberries just like what you would buy from the grocery store.
No way, that's cool.
But they're a black species of raspberry. This one's almost ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Which one did you wanted to try it?
I actually do want to try it.
This one's gonna be that one's gonna be the most ripe on the plant right now. And that one's a pretty good one too.
Alright, you said something over here?
Yeah, the darker the better.
Oh, darker the better. Okay, here we go. Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's good. That's pretty cool.
Groves. You'll see sequoias kind of growing next to each other. And you might even notice that they seem skinnier than some of the other adult trees. And that is because they're sharing the same amount of resources that one tree will get. And so these trees might be just as old as that big sequoia tree, you know, just over there, or even that big one that we passed farther down the way. Sometimes the trees outcompete each other.
Wow.
So you might get a cluster of 5, you might get a cluster of 2 like what we have here, and sometimes you'll see one of those trees just doing really well and the other ones are really skinny. And that one that's doing really well is outcompeting the others. And the others, they might live, they might just be smaller forever, or eventually they might die. Wrapped their roots, the closest roots together, kind of holding hands for support. These roots go about 6 feet down into the ground and then shoot out in every direction. And a good estimate of their roots size is the height of their trunk is going to be about how far their roots are going to stretch out.
Oh, that's
and
crazy.
So they have roots going up this hill, down the hill, across.
remember, don't hesitate to call on me.
Sequoia leaves just, it looks like someone took them between two big books and squished them. So these are kind of pressed flat versions of Sequoia leaves. And inside one of these cones is about 200 seeds.
Oh shoot.
And so this cone and all the other cones that we're seeing on the ground here sat at the top of that tree in that canopy for about 20 years, waiting for wildfire. And the reason for that is sequoias have adapted to use fire and the indicator of fire to know when it's a great time for their seeds to hit the soil and to start growing. It's so great is because that fire will come through. It will turn all these branches and pine needles and things like that, burn them up and put them right back into the nitrogen cycle. So it's basically like nature's miracle grow. Fungi in the soil that would attack and kill the roots of sapling sequoias. And so it bakes that soil and kills that fungus. It opens up canopy for that tree to grow into. When fire rolls through, it sends heat up into the canopy. And it dries up these cones. These cones sit up there green. They actually do a little bit of photosynthesis themselves, but they sit up there green, waiting for that convection, for that heat to come up, dry them out, and the fire moves along. A breeze like the one that we have right now rolling through goes through the canopy, and it kind of shakes and rattles the cones, and the seeds kind of flutter out to the ground, hitting this fresh soil, ready and waiting for new life to spring up into it. And so if you come back a year after a fire going through a grove like this, as long as it's a healthy fire, so flames are about knee high, it's not a huge raging fire like what you would see in Bambi cartoons and stuff like that. Freshly growing sequoia shoots coming up, starting to take root and take off. Pretty amazing to see. It's pretty great. This area actually burns every 15 to 20 years. And that's why these cones sit up in that canopy for 20 years. That life can take root and go beyond. And let's see if we can find some seeds. There's one. It's a little tiny itty bitty.
Whoa.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Let's see if we can find a bag.
They're not edible, huh?
Never eat this.
No, they look like oatmeal, but squirrels eat them, but I wouldn't suggest it.
The sequoia grows inside of me.
A sequoia grows inside you.
There you go. Here's a better one.
Whoa. That's pretty cool.
Deeper than the first knuckle of your pointer finger.
Okay.
So you make a little hole.
I'll
drop one or
record.
two in.
Cool.
Don't mess up.
Okay. First knuckle from the end of your finger. Okay. Nice.
Go into a big tree. I think I want them to be like my kids, to compete with one another.
You also like the underplant one.
Oh, baby,
You
won't
won't find more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did a good job. I'm so selfish.
It's okay. It's your birthday. It's tomorrow.
Thank you. We can plant both, and then we'll see whose tree grows the best. That's what we're gonna do with our kids. Yeah, we're hoping that with our kids we'll do the same thing. We're hoping to get twins, and then you take one, I'll take the other. You think your tree's gonna beat my tree? We'll come back in 10 years. I have one right here, Scott. Do you want to berry one too?
Oh no, I was gonna find more since it's your birthday.
Oh man.
Plant the whole field over.
Oh man. I'm gonna be like this, and then it'll be like the Alexander area. The Sequoia. That's cool.
No, these are your kuyas.
Sequoias. That's so crazy.
Planted all of you. So that same voice.
Scott's gonna show us how to scare a bear.
And so say there's a bear over there and it's in the campground. I would, take a nice sturdy stance, get ready for a nice strong, hearty yell, and just yell at that bear in whatever language you want. We use English with them, but exposing the bears to different languages is super great. The main thing we don't want to do is bang pots and pans or blow air horns or anything like that. It's ambient noise. They don't know it's associated at them. It might, you know, if you can scare them, if you've snuck up on the bear and you blow an air horn, it's going to be more scared than anything. It's going to be a start and it's going to run. But, you know, if you're 50 feet off and you blow the air horn, it's like, okay. And if you're banging pots and pans, they're just like, you know, it's the same noise they hear for cooking, right? And they're like, oh man, you making burritos? You making eggs? That sounds great. I want some too. So the best thing to do is yell at them in English and just say, you know, we like to say, hey bear, get out of here, bear. When bear management uses a hazing round to give that bear that like basic spanking to make them remember that humans aren't great to be around and to chase them out of that area, we say, hey bear. So if you say bear, you know, they don't remember the word, but they remember the inflection, right? Kind of like when your dog hears like, do you want to go on a walk? Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, sounds great. Bears get that. They can learn that same inflection of the syllables going, and so they associate, hey bear, get out of here, bear, with a very sharp pain in the rump afterwards. And so if you yell at them and you go, hey bear, get on out of here, go on! Get on out of here, go on, get! The bear's gonna get out. The other thing that happens when you say get out of here, bear, is everyone that hears you is like, oh, bear. And what should be going through their mind is, I need to put my food in a safe place. I need to store it in a locker. Most of them are like, where's my camera?
Yeah.
But hopefully people are putting food away in their food storage locker, they're locking it all up, and then they come, and if the bear's still around, they can see the bear. That's how you haze a bear.
You're gonna have to do it in Spanish. Can you do it for me in Spanish?
No, you could do it. I'll record you if you
Okay.
want to do it.
How do you say bear in Spanish?
No, you could do it in Tagalog.
I don't even know how to say it in Tagalog. What's bear in Spanish?
Also.
Also, okay. Alright, here we go. Stance. There's a bear right there. Paya oso, paya!
That's what it looks like. So you can imagine like having them squished, and that's the cedar.
Oh,
You're
that's pretty
more
cool.
than, I call it petting. You're more than welcome to kind of like pet these trees to feel what it's like. Definitely go trunk towards the end of the thing. Going the other way will get you pricked and poked.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
They smell great too.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the best part is seeing it up close. Now you can be like, okay, that's what the structure of the leaf looks like. And now you can look at those super red trunks, and you can look up into their canopy and you can see how the texture looks super far away. And now all you need to do is remember that, and you can see a sequoia from miles away.
Yeah.
In a little bit, we'll get to a point where we have kind of a vista point, and you can see the tops of sequoias from a couple miles away, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's a sequoia, and that's a sequoia, and that's a pine tree, and that's a sequoia. So, there's one hiding behind the tree over there, there's another one there. There's another short one here. There's another one behind that tree. There's another one over there. There's two sticking up there next to the dead tree, way far off. There's one closer behind the dead tree. There's one behind this fir tree that you can't see. There's the very big one with the dead crown coming up like that.
Oh, I see it.
Then there's 5 behind it, tucked in the corner back there. There's one further to the, like closer to the left. And then there's 2 immediately right here. There's one to the right, and there's another one behind the dead one.
Oh, I
farther
just saw it,
behind
yeah.
that. There's another one even tucked farther behind that. Then there's 3 right here. There's 1 right there. There's 2 more, and then there's 1, and there's 2.
Oh my god.
I've been here for 7 years. I have a little bit of an advantage. But just to illustrate, I wasn't trying to show off. I was just trying to illustrate.
Now it's still impressive.
Like,
I was like, how can you differentiate?
If you spend enough time in this park and you are like, okay, that's a sequoia, got it. You can be like, okay, that's not a sequoia, that's a sequoia, but that is. That's not a sequoia, but that is. That's not, yes, 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 no, 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 yes, yes, yes. And you can just look across the landscape. It's to the point where I can stand on a hilltop, on a precipice, and I can look across a valley and I can see the grove. I can like identify where a sequoia grove is across a valley and be like, you know, there's 25 right there that I can see or whatever. So it's kind of cool. They're very distinct, very distinguished trees. And it's, you know, especially for the adults, you're looking for those asparagus tops.
Yeah.
And then for the monarchs, you're either looking for those dead crowns, or for me, it almost looks like a broccoli top, right? It's a little bit wider than like an asparagus top. And so, you know, you got these little triangle, asparagus top. little triangle, broccoli top, little triangle, asparagus top. And so it gets really easy to pick them out off of the landscape the more time you spend looking for them. If you look really closely, you'll see a sapling sequoia growing out of the trunk of the dead sequoia.
I can see it right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And that goes to kind of feed into the, how much water is in it, because that is a lot more heavy when it's wet. And so, like, if we were to take an equal-sized trunk out of this living tree, which I wouldn't recommend, but if we were to do it, it would be, 60, 80 pounds, just because it's mostly water weight.
Yeah. With one hand, this man carried it. He said, "This is wood. That's really light."
Well, those two pieces used to be one piece, and the last time I did it, I threw it and it split in half. I was like, oh man.
Winter greens. That's pretty cool.
This is the flower, and eventually the seeds. Right, these smaller ones are going to be the seeds. That's the flower on it. So we've rocked around. Right, we got to see a lot of cool things. We've got to hear some stories. We got to learn about the big dump pit up at the top of Bear Hill. We learned how the museum used to be a bar. There used to be a restaurant over there. And in fact, this fallen sequoia tree didn't used to be here. We moved it here in 1996.
Oh,
because this whole green area in front of the museum used to be a parking lot.
Oh.
There actually used to be a gas station here. And so when we pulled all that infrastructure out and tried to rewild it, and we planted all these trees, like the trees next to the sentinel tree, those sequoia trees, those are 40 years old. So if you want to know what a 40-year-old sequoia tree looks like, those.
Dang, only 40?
Yeah. But we planted a bunch of stuff around to kind of cover up where the paving used to be and where the gas tanks used to be, just to kind of make this place more pretty and less like a gas station.
Right.
But that's the amazing thing of walking around these parks and these areas, and especially, if you have the opportunity to get on a guided tour, because we can take you a little bit deeper than just like, oh, that tree's cool, and oh, look, there's a berry plant over that, I wonder if I can eat it. And you get to learn these stories. You get to learn the history of a hill that is just an unassuming hill that's called Bear Hill, or the story of deer running across the landscape, or squirrels that are running around, and the berries, and what the animals are eating, and things like that. And you've also started your own story.
Yeah.
Right? This is your first chapter. Well, technically your second or third chapter. Right? Your first chapter at Sequoia National Park was going down the Crystal Cave and exploring that area with Zoe. And then, you started your chapter today, hiking around a little bit, and then going on the hike with me. And for the rest of the day, you get to write more chapters.
Yes.
And what will those chapters hold? Maybe you'll go hike around a meadow. Maybe you'll see a black bear. Maybe you'll come back in 10 years with your little ones running around, and you'll get to go see the trees that you planted. Maybe you'll decide that you want to work here in the summer.
Hey, that's pretty dope.
There's so many different things you can do to help this park continue on. You can donate your time, you can donate money, you can come experience these parks. You can just bring a friend, bring a group of friends and come camping or hiking through the Sierras and experience this nature and share the joy that you have had on this trip with more people, so they can experience it and fall in love with this nature just like you did. And so thank you for starting your story in Sequoia National Park.
Thanks you.
We have many chapters.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
so great.
We really appreciate it. Come here. Just take a picture or like a video with them. Thanks, Scott. We appreciate it. All right. Oh man, this is so cool. Bye.